What is going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals, giving you everything I can in this youth baseball space, helping kids get maximum exposure in and around the country, and helping kids get into schools. Holla at me if you want some help. Man, so I got my boy over here. When I tell you, my boy last year was a lifesaver, all right, when I tell you I used to blow him up every 5 minutes, uh, ask him all type of questions when it comes to everything, when it comes to technology and the Rapsodos and the K Vest and all of these softwares and hitting and all of this stuff that's out right now, right? That a guy like myself who's been in and around the game for many years, but obviously I've been way behind. And my boy Blake here was a lifesaver. I would call him; he would help me, walk me through some of these, like he's going to do right now with the rap photo. And I just felt the need because a lot of times parents right now, you guys don't. Basically, I want you guys to take a listen to what this man has to say today. He's a minor league coach of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm gonna let him tell his old story, but I want him to kind of be that bridge of understanding of what college and pro coaches are looking at when it comes to the Rapsodos, the KVS, the technology that is being used today. It's not as simple as, oh, he hits the ball good or he runs fast and all of that. It's all about the technology behind it, and that's why I brought my boy Blake Butler on today. So Blake, without further ado, brother, I appreciate you coming on, big dog. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me. You definitely spiking my ego right now, but it means a lot to join you. I think the world of you. So it's a pleasure to finally be on. And we've been talking about it for a little while, so it's good to be here.
No doubt about it, man. So Blake, I have all my guests, man. I have them all come on and share their journey to where they are now, man. So if you could, man, show a little background, man, before we get into this, information, man.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, just outside Greensboro, North Carolina. Had a little brother, little sister, who I love dearly. Great parents, mom and dad, super supportive of everything I did growing up. Kind of the outlier in my family was hyper competitive at a very young age, and the throw the board game into pieces when I lose type competitiveness at a very young age. But really, I just had love for competition, sports in general. That's Tobacco Road, Duke, North Carolina, NC State basketball kind of is everybody's true passion. And grew up a really big Duke fan. Mom was a Duke fan, dad was a North Carolina fan, and so kind of was a Duke fan, mama's boy. So was a huge basketball fan, football fan, all of the above. Just happened to be a little bit better at baseball. So that kind of became my love because I think I had a little more success with it. So being competitive, that's kind of where I went down the path. And was lucky enough to play with some great travel organizations, did some Legion ball in high school. Really enjoyed my experience in high school and was lucky enough to my junior year get an opportunity to commit to College of Charleston. So after my 4 years of high school, went on to play at the College of Charleston. Got to Charleston, South Carolina in 2012, fall 2012, and was very unsure of myself. Felt very out of place as a skinny 6'3", 170-pound middle infielder that did not look like a lot of other middle infielders. It's just 7-0 runner, nothing, super stellar about me and my tools per se, but always tried to play really hard, and things just really happened for me. A guy named by the name of Matt Heath came and watched me play in high school, and
I remember Matt Heath. Is that Matt Heath that was at UT Martin now?
Yeah, he's at UT Martin now.
Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah, I talked to Matt. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Matt recruited me after one game. I don't know if he told anybody that, but after one game, he saw what he needed to see, and was a really influential person in getting me there and keeping me focused on what was important, and got to play for Monty Lee, who was an excellent head coach as he's at Clemson now, and still speak with him, and I'm able to spend some time with him. And my hitting coach, Chris Morris, who's now out of the game, was also an awesome dude. I think he was the guy he was on the same baseball card as you back in the prospect day. I don't know if you saw that. So,
yeah,
but
you done a little story. Yeah.
Some really great coaches there, and so was really lucky. I still feel like I had one of the best college coaching groups that there was, and that's no knock. I've been around a lot of really good college coaches, but just everything kind of fell into place, and so had some successful years. My first year, we weren't super great team. We finished second in the SoCon, but just kind of underachieved. Didn't do very well in the tournament. Didn't make the NCAA tournament. And my second year kind of went on a little bit of a Cinderella run. In 2014, we won our conference tournament. Went on to Gainesville, played the Gators in the NCAA tournament. Beat the Gators, beat Long Beach State twice to advance to a super regional, second in school history, and so got to experience, being in the Sweet 16 of college baseball, a chance to go to Omaha. Came up a run short twice. Lost 2-1 to nothing games, which is pretty miserable to think about to this day. Came back in 2015 and had a chance to really good team, big leaguers throwing on Friday night, soon to be big leaguer throwing on Saturday, draft guys all over the infield, and so had a chance to make another run. Went to Florida State in the NCAA tournament, made it back to back, and ended up losing to them in the regional final there. So awesome experience there. Love Charleston. Still live in Charleston now. But after that season, was able to get drafted. Went and played 3 minor league seasons with the Reds. Had a really outstanding first year. And then the next 2 years was in the Florida State League, the Daytona Tortugas. It had some bright spots, had some down spots. At the end of that season, played my last professional game, last game of that year, and didn't know it at the time it would be my last game, but I actually played all 9 positions.
Nice.
My last ever game. Yeah, I got the save to finish it out. So,
Nice.
So baseball was really good to me. Went back to my alma mater. Didn't really know if I wanted to be in the game anymore, and got back, and there's a new coach there when I was there, Chad Holbrook, another amazing college coach. He's still at the College of Charleston, and convinced me to get into college coaching, to give it a try as a student assistant there. And within 2 weeks, knew what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. So spent that year there, went on to a Division II school, Francis Marion in South Carolina. Spent some time there, went to Davidson, North Carolina, and spent a little bit of time there with that coaching staff, and then came on with the Pirates just before the pandemic started last year. So this will be my first real season with the Pirates after doing a lot of Zoom calls and instructs last year. So I'm really excited down here at spring training now, and was able to see some guys, this past week, and I'm excited for the rest of our guys to get down so we can get this thing going here shortly.
Listen, man, you played at all levels, man, pro, college, and, coached on the college level, and now in the pros. And I wanted to kind of get your take, being on all levels so far, even though it's just a sample size on the pro side so far. But I'm figuring one of the pluses, obviously you have the experience of playing at the A ball and college, but I would like to think that probably one of the bonuses and pluses were your experience when it comes to, the technology that's in the game right now, right? So I would love to get your take on, from you still being fairly young, when did you start seeing a switch from, hey, the tech side with the Rapsodos and the different softwares that are being used, the machines out there now? When did you start seeing the change? Yeah,
so my last couple of years playing was not that long ago. I'm still kind of young. But my last couple of years playing, 2016 and 2017. And, my first year was in rookie ball, and was really just, focused on the game. Had just gotten out of college, so I didn't really know the landscape of professional baseball. I knew guys from local colleges and guys I'd played with in summer leagues who went to other schools. But I think it's when you get into pro ball, you understand like how huge baseball is in our nation, and how many good players there are all over the country and all over the world. There wasn't a ton of English speakers on my AZL team that first year, so and that was an awesome experience. But it's quite a it's quite an experience to have that realization where your small little bubble, where playing at the College of Charleston meant the world to me. It was like the biggest honor I'd had in my entire life. And you get to professional baseball and you realize that there are guys who felt that about, things all over the world and are still chasing that dream of making it to the big leagues. And so I think when I got into that and I started to see all these different backgrounds, you come across certain people who had started to really implement these different technologies into their off-season programs. Different guys who maybe had come from some bigger schools who were a little bit ahead of the game and obviously budgetary than the College of Charleston was, into being able to invest in a lot of these technologies. So I was starting to learn a little bit just from guys that I play with. And I would, you follow people on social media. Obviously, social media has grown even since then in the past 3-4 years.
Right.
But you start to follow, you start to kind of grasp it. But, I was so very, very like focused on, handling my work that I never – really took the time to investigate it. Looking back, I wish I would have. I wish I would have taken the time to at least learn what some of that things were, to see if they could potentially help me. Because not everything's going to help everybody, but maybe one thing could have helped me, and can always wonder about those things. But really, when I got into coaching is when I would say I felt like the industry was really, making a turn. It wasn't just the SEC and ACC schools that were able to invest anymore. Some of the things were becoming more affordable. The competitive advantage was lessening because smaller schools were able to get some more technology into the building and understand, how to use technology to their advantage, how it can better prepare their players, how it can better prepare them as they prepare scouting reports and prepare, even recruiting, how efficiently it made recruiting. And you could really make sure you hit a home run every time you got guys to try and, double check, and so I think that's really when I started to see it, is when I got back to College of Charleston, and that would have been in 2018, where I really felt like it was really kind of coming into my life and something that I should investigate if this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
I like what you said. Let's go back, because many, we're talking, obviously you're the pro guy, but you're fresh out of coaching in college, playing and coaching playing, coaching and everything in college. But I like what you just said, like, the can't miss aspect of it, using technology, when it comes to recruiting players. This is something that, parents need to hear, like how prevalent when it comes to the technologies that are being used right now, how often, how much is being used on the college, scene. You just being a coach over there at the College of Charleston, how much is being used when the technology, when it comes to
I mean, it's really dependent on the staff, and I think that's something as hopefully a lot of your viewers or either parents or players that are thinking about going to college, and it's a great question to ask if you're on a recruiting visit or you're talking to a college coach and he asks you if you have any questions, is see what their feel is, do your own research on certain technologies, see what means something to you, and see if they're using it. At Davidson College, where I was, there was a heavy emphasis on technology there. And they had bat sensors, they had Rapsodos. Recently, since I've been gone, I know they've invested in WinVR, which is a virtual reality where you can get at bats off big league pitchers, which is, unheard of. Like, it's hard to even imagine, but you put the thing on, it looks really, really real.
Wow.
So it's, getting reps like that. So when you start to think about, where you want to go to school, if you have opportunities and options, it's a great question to ask, because a lot of schools are using the technology differently. And neither one is right or wrong. Just because, Davidson's using more than another school doesn't necessarily mean that, it's better or worse. It's just whether it fits you or not, whether you like it, taking information in that way or not. But yeah, a lot of schools have TrackMan now. I would say the majority of do, which is going to give you a lot of game data. So you're going to know how fast you're throwing, how hard it came off your bat, what launch angle it came off the bat, the direction it went, all these things. And, not just your school, but other schools are getting that in scouting reports too. So that's very, very prevalent. A lot of schools have the Rapsodo on the pitching side, the hitting side. Bat sensors are a little bit more obscure in a sense of some people love them, some people hate them. And again, that's okay.
So when you say bat sensors, is that being used in a game, or that's just
no?
Practice?
So it's in practice. Yeah, it's in practice. You strap it on the bottom of your knob.
Yeah,
and it'll give you an idea of like hand speed, swing speed. It'll give you approach angle, and it'll kind of give you like a vertical bat angle, or you have a flat bat as your bat pointing down a little bit, and that's all pitch dependent. Some guys really, really like the bat sensors because they can show you like your bat path throughout the swing and show you where your swing speed is for, different parts of the zone. And I think those are really cool. But there are other metrics that I think at times they're just measuring it just because they can measure it. Like I said, they can be pitch dependent, right? Like sometimes your bat's going to point a little bit more down at a low pitch than a high pitch. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to do one or the other. I would argue you need to do both depending on where the pitch is. So, you can learn a lot about yourself, and obviously how quickly you swing the bat is, a huge deal. Playing at a high level, being able to hit the ball hard is really, really important. So guys go back and forth with those things. And again, there's nobody right or wrong. It's just kind of how you want to build your program out. But I would say that the majority of programs at the NCAA level are using some form of technology, whether they're sticking to just game data, they're using it in their training, or they're just even using some to evaluate other teams, their own players, whatever it is. So you're gonna probably experience it if you play at a high level.
Man, I love it. So we got one question came in real fast. And before we get into it, what's the best way for a high school player to use the technology to benefit him?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first off, I would say understanding what it is. Like, so when you have conversations with college coaches, you can be able to talk about these things, right? So, just understanding like what exit velocity is, right? Exit velocity is how hard it comes off the bat. There's a big difference in a ball sitting off a tee, hitting into a net as hard as you can and saying like, this is my exit velocity versus like being in a game and a ball coming into the plate and you hitting a very hard exit velocity, but also pairing that with the launch angle that you want, right? And so when I say that is, you can hit a ball 100 miles an hour right at the shortstop on the ground and you're out, but if you're able to backspin the ball regularly, if you're able to hit high line drives or even low line drives, all over the field at high exit velocities, you're not going to get out as often as the guy who's hitting the ball on the ground, even if he's hitting it really, really hard. So just understanding that is huge. And I think it'll give you an advantage for when you step in that college scene and you're exposed to some of these technologies, what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you, right? Maybe you are really, really fast. You talked about it. Like if you're a speed guy, if you're a 6'2", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" runner, you need to hit the ball on the ground more, right? That's your player profile. So understanding that, and when you get to the college level, and they start talking about launch angles, understanding that, hey, that doesn't necessarily mean as much to me as, the guy who runs a 7'2", who needs to hit the ball over the fence every time he's up to the plate if he wants to hit in the middle of the lineup and play every day, So just understanding how it benefits your game, who you are. I think that's the big misconception when some people use these technologies. It's that we all have to shoot for the mean. We all have to shoot for the middle line that, is everybody. And that's not the case. It gives you a good idea of who you are. And when you talk about yourself to college coaches, to your teammates, and you use that stuff in training, you know who you are and what you need to shoot for. If you're a high exit velocity guy, not a great runner, you need to hit the ball in the air more and you need to train accordingly, right? If you're a really great runner and maybe you don't hit the ball at a high exit velocity, you obviously can train to hit the ball harder. You can do things in the weight room. There's bat programs you can do now. There's all kinds of options for you to try and hit the ball harder. But in the time being, I would try and hit the ball on the ground a lot, beat a lot of stuff out so I can get on base, maybe steal second, maybe steal third, and get myself in a position to score.
Man, I love it, man. So Good information, man. Before we get into this, man, D Car said just Google my son and saw where this past summer PBR Texas was using TrackMan and Blast. I can see where schools can use this information for scouting purposes. I don't understand none of it. Crazy. All right, that's why I wanted. This is why I wanted to bring my boy Blake on here, man, because D-Car, I'm not picking on you, man, but I mean, hell, I'll be honest with you. I didn't understand this until within the last, 12 to 14 months myself. So, and I'm a baseball dude. And I think parents, and Blake, let me ask you this. What do you feel, what do you feel as a coach? And, obviously you're a pro coach now, but from a college side of things, do you think it's necessary for maybe a high school parent to know some form of this, some form of this information or technologies out there? Do you think they need to know the exit velos and all of that?
I would.
My hands off of it.
No, you're good. I would. If I was a parent, Mr. Carr here, if that stuff's out there, that's this. A lot of the stuff is accessible with Google, and I know we shouldn't trust everything we read on the internet, but a lot of these things you can get on and you can educate yourself about some of the TrackMan numbers, some of the blast numbers, and just understand what it's saying about your son. And, whenever these college coaches are seeing these things, they're obviously doing it from an evaluation perspective. But I will say, I don't know a lot of college coaches that are going to just recruit off of TrackMan and off of blast motion. They want to see how your son is playing the game. Is he doing it the right way? Is he hustling down the line? Is he making routine plays? How is he defensively? There's not a ton of defensive metrics at the high school, even college level right now, like there is at, say, the MLB level. So, they're going to want to make sure he can play a position at the next level. They're not just going to sign a guy, just because he hits the ball a certain, exit velocity. They want to see that kid. They want to see him against good pitching. They want to see how he competes, how he acts, how he runs down the line. All these things are going to matter. I don't know of any college coach that I've ever spoken to that would strictly recruit off those things. So that's most importantly. But if you're an influential part of your son's life and you are going to spend time training your son, if you're taking him to the batting cage and you're the one who's speaking into the way that he's training and the certain things he's working on, I think using that stuff is awesome. For instance, if you're looking at the TrackMan and your exit velocities are down, so a really excellent exit velocity is like 95 and plus, right? The high school level, it's not necessarily the case. You may, a high-end exit velocity, will still be up there. But if you're, say your son's, in the low 80s, and you really want your son to have an opportunity to play, exactly like what box you need to check, before for your son to play at the next level. And a lot of these things again are simple. Like if you go to a game, and you watch a kid, a lot of times you can tell that he can or cannot hit the ball hard just by a couple swings. And a lot of evaluators can do that, but you just get validity with the information. And so you can start training these things. And so you say you take your son and you put him through a new workout program, you get with a certified trainer, or, if you have a background in that, you start working out, you start maybe using a bat program where you're mixing in some heavy bats into we all swung heavy bats when we were young in high school trying to get stronger, right? You use some light bats too to teach your body how to move really, really quickly. You take like a T-ball bat that you haven't used in years and you just swing it to make your body be really, really twitchy and really, really quick, right? Train your body to move quickly and then go to another tournament and see if the numbers improve, and see if the training you're doing is working. So it's just a great measuring stick when it comes to the training technologies, to make sure you're going down the right path. And that you're going along with what these coaches are hoping that they see when they're out recruiting or they're checking these websites, like you mentioned.
Man, awesome information, man. Awesome information. The when it comes to the technology and the switching, I want to get into this Rapsodo, man. Right in this next minute or so. But I think what he just said was really gold for all parents. I know you may feel like, from a parent standpoint, you may feel like, I don't need to know this stuff, or, that's for his coach and him to understand, which obviously he needs to know the Rapsodos and the different softwares and technologies that's out there for himself. But parents, the main reason I want to put this on and bring my boy Blake on it, because sometimes, obviously the play on the field may dictate, who gets the offer here and there. But when it starts getting cutting hairs and everybody's just as equal, just as talented, things like the technology aspect, what's his exit velo? It's a lot higher than the next guy, or he throws the ball at the velo and the spin rate is different here. And this is all what's being used by these college recruiters and scouts and coaches. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to different reach, making the choice of different guys. All right, and so this is why I brought my boy Blake on here to talk this mess. You know what I'm saying? And,
no doubt. And like, if the thing is like, as a parent, like, and you said it great right there, like, as a parent, like, your son, or daughter, if you're softball players on here, like, them better than anybody in the world. Probably, you probably know them better than they know themselves. And if you were a college coach, you'd probably sign your son or daughter because you know them really, really well. But these college coaches, you have to be empathetic to them. They have jobs. They're trying to put food on their table, and when they're out, trying to find the best players that are going to help them develop a winning team. They have to use these resources the best way that they can, and they're going to use them differently because a lot of coaches are different. They like different things. Some guys really like playing a speed defense pitching game. Some guys want to hit the ball over the yard, and just understanding that these college coaches are using these resources because it's part of their livelihood now. And if they don't, other coaches are going to do it. So I think it's just really important to think about it from that lens, and understand that. And then as a parent, doing what you will with it. If you still feel like that you and your son don't need that in your life and you can train the right way, things are going the right way for you, you're getting the offers you want, then that's fine. Hold it off as long as you can. Don't feel like you need to waste money on investing in certain technologies as long as things are going well for you. But if you feel like you're getting overlooked, maybe take the time to do a little bit of research. Google some of these technologies and just kind of understand what they're measuring, understand what's good, and then kind of pick and choose. If you get an opportunity to use one, I know a lot of cages have Rapsodo, which I know we're going to talk about. A lot of cages have hit tracks now where you can go and kind of get some readings, some base readings now, and do it at a 20 an hour, 40 an hour rate at a local cage versus, having to buy your own machine. So, that's just, I think, a huge point to make to parents. And I know as a college coach, I wanted to say that a lot. And so for the college coaches that are still doing it, we all got jobs and we all want to win. Like, that's what ultimately motivates us. And so if there's a resource out there that we think is going to help us create a winning team, we're going to use it.
Dope information. Thanks. That was great, man. All right. Lauren's background is nice, D. Thank you, man.
Yeah, it is.
I ain't gonna tell you, my boy Blake over there just messing around with him trying to get things right is the reason why. Look, I've had this for 2 weeks. It's the first time I'm using it. My boy Blake is the good luck charm over here.
Luck charm.
All right. LaRon says, see, in College of Charleston alumni
hey.
Class of
Let's
04.
go, LaRon. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. But we got another CFC guy here. Kyron Mattinson played there for a year, went to ECU. But man, I love me some CFC. It's good to hear and see some alums out there. Go Cougs.
So anyway, Blake, man, I wanted to kind of get into this Rapsodo software, go over these basic numbers and information, and what from a college and a pro coach, what you're looking at numbers wise, and break it down for these parents that are listening in. What are decent numbers? What are you looking at, and how from a coach's standpoint, how are you evaluating these numbers when these guys hit?
For sure. Let me share my screen really quick. See if we can get this right. All right, how are we looking?
All right, let me do this here and do this. All right, we are good to go.
Cool. So I'm going to kind of bounce around here. Again, like, one thing I'll say about this is take away from it what you think is important. Don't feel like you need to take away everything, because there are times where I find myself coming back to, the manual for answers, or, searching for answers here and there. I think that's the beautiful thing about this is, again, there's not always a one-way answer with a lot of some of these measurements. But, again, just think of it like a tool, and think about your son. Think about, maybe where you feel like he is a little bit behind, or where a college coach that was recruiting him may poke holes in, some of the things he does. Think about, some of the things that are being measured here, and Dee and I were talking beforehand, the reason that I think he wanted to get me on, and my kind of motivation for like the way I'm going about presenting this is, if you get an opportunity to use, some Rapsodo or hit tracks, because they're fairly similar, I want you to have an idea of what to look for your son, because, I know how much it meant to me to get to play college baseball, and I wish it could happen for everybody. Unfortunately, it doesn't. But I want you to at least have a little bit of background to know what to look for. If you do get an opportunity to use some of these numbers, or a tournament you go to use it, you can kind of track the few things that mean a lot to you. So, that being said, this first one here at the top here, this data, and again, this is a set from, random hitters that we have here just kind of thrown together with no real name. So it's not one player, it's actually multiple players. But, you look at this exit velocity here, right here at the top of our screen. And again, this is our pro ranges. So you see kind of our average, our max, and then our hard hit average. So that hard hit average is going to be like the hardest 10% balls that we hit are going to be that number and higher, right? So our 90th percentile and higher of all of the swings that we've taken is going to be that 99. So that's what you're looking at if you want your son to be a professional. Somewhere around 100 miles an hour is going to give him an opportunity to play at the highest level. Obviously, if he can play in the middle of the field, if you can catch, if you can play shortstop, or you can play center field at a big league level, you can get away with a little bit less. But other than that, you're going to have to really hit the ball hard. So I think that's a great, and that's something that comes with time. Not every 14-year-old is going to hit the ball 90 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour. And again, I want to think about this off of a moving ball. Like I know we mentioned earlier, hitting off of a tee. And, I'm not knocking that if that's a way that you train. And again, speed training is speed training. I know, Bryson DeChambeau is turning the golf world on its head right now by doing speed training into a net and not really caring where the ball goes. So if that's how you train, that's awesome. But all these are going to be on a moving ball with Rapsodo. So again, creating with a trainer or trying to do some type of speed training, and again, just having some awareness about where you need to be and where you need to be working to have good exit velocity. That's kind of where you're looking at. Launch angle is, I know that launch angle ruffles some feathers at times. I don't want you to think of the launch angle measurement as a swing. I want you to think about it like a true measurement. So, our average is 12.3. A line drive is considered like 8 to 15 to me is a really, really hard, solid line drive. So that 12 is right in between 8 and 15. So, when you think about pro baseball, and I know the knock on MLB right now is everything, either a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. But in practice, when we're working, we're all trying to hit hard line drives. We're not trying to hit the ball over the fence every time, So I think that's a big misconception with where the game is headed, where guys are not working on line drives. They're only trying to hit the ball. You look right here, again, this is like 300 swings or something like that. And our average is like 12.3, which is a line drive over the shortstop, second baseman's head. That is, if it's backspun, it's probably going to go into a gap. So when you're working like that, that's what you want. So even if you don't get a Rapsodo, think of high line drives. Think of line drives that go over this, like the middle infielder's head, as a success. And an analytic is you taking measure of how many times you do that, and measuring that over weeks and weeks and weeks. I think we think about analytics as this, there's one of these stats on here is expected WOBA, which is expected weighted on base average. Nobody's going to calculate that in a high school game or even a college game. But when we're looking at it from a launch angle perspective, how many times do you hit it, over the shortstop's head in a practice, in 30 swings? Take a number and then work on it again, to keep taking track of it, and see if you get better. You know what I mean? Or see if you get worse. See if a different swing thought gets you to where you want to be. See if a different mechanic gets you where you want to be. A drill package, certain drills that you're doing, creates more line drives. That's awesome use of analytics that is pretty old school. I'm sure we all had those in our lives that were, doing that for us. Direction here is about where the ball goes. I think a better look at that would be at our little baseball diamond here by the R44. And you can see where our professional hitters are working. It is through the middle of the field. When we're in practice, we're not trying to yank the ball to either line. the
Speak
volume of
on that a
hits.
little bit, Blake, just a little bit, because so many times I see young kids in cages. Sometimes it's about the BP or the soft tosser in there, but I mean, it irritates me when I see kids get in the cages and just start yanking balls. You know what I'm saying? Like pull side. That irritates me because that really, I don't think you're working on anything when that happens. So here you have a professionals that are constantly the pinks are where they're hitting, and so that's how they're training. The pros are training like that, right, Blake?
Absolutely. And the way we train it with the Pirates is we try and give external cues, right? Like we don't want guys thinking about really, really internal, things like mechanics all the time, but take a screen out the center field, take a big screen out the center field, and just try and hit it as many times as you can, or when you're in the cage, try and hit that back screen as many times as you can. Again, these are in practice in a game, those things will happen. You're going to hit doubles, you're going to hit home runs. But in practice, like you said, this is a great example of what our guys are doing in practice, and it's a lot through the middle of the field. And it's hit hard, it's hit on a line, but that's where a lot of our guys are working. And I think, trying to keep that external and just trying to play a game with it, see how many times you can do it, how many times can you hit that screen, sitting behind second base is a great way to accomplish that. But you're absolutely right in what you're saying. I think when our guys show up and aren't doing that, we'll have to check them at times and be like, hey, man, let's shift your focus here. Maybe you have to slide it even more to the opposite field. But whatever you're doing right now, it's not quality work. And, not that you're going to be successful all the time in practice. We don't want you to be successful all the time in practice because then practice is too easy. But, we do want you focused on what you're trying to accomplish. And if our guys are showing up rolling over balls or pulling balls foul, we know something's going on that we need to attack.
Good information, Blake.
Absolutely. So those are kind of the big three, if you will, for these, here, again, batting average, using Rapsodo or hit tracks, it's great because you can have imaginary fielders out there where it's going to track your batting average, so on and so forth. So you can use those metrics if you choose to, if you want to play a game with it. I know in the off seasons, I like to spend time, the last 10 minutes or so of all my lessons, just trying to play a game. We're going to go situations. I'm going to tell you where the runners are, how many outs there are, what the score is, and we're going to play. Like trying to create game situations as much as possible is awesome, and these help you do that, which is pretty cool. Let's see. I want to get to. I don't want to break over, but I want to get to this part here. So this is a strike zone breakdown. I think these are awesome ways to train high schoolers and college kids, and it's a great thing to bring awareness to. This is a lot of swings, and again, it's not just one guy, so I don't want you to think about it like that. But even if your son or daughter is a pitcher on here, thinking about how the strike zone operates is such a big deal. So as you see these zones here, and this red right here is where like our highest exit velocities are. So again, these are professional hitters, and you could see obviously we're hitting the ball really, really hard all over the zone, even out of the zone. But here at the bottom of the zone and even slightly under the zone, you're seeing not as much exit velocity. So from a pitching perspective, when you're using analytics, here's a telltale sign for you. You want to attack these bottom two corners, you're going to have a lot of success. But from a hitting perspective, when you're just an individual, if you get an opportunity to use a Rapsodo, use a hit tracks at a local facility, if you're able to buy your own, that's awesome. Even at a showcase or whatever, I think this is such valuable information because it tells you what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So when we think about like launch angle here, again, these are line drives, these 10 degrees, 11 degrees, 14 degrees, 9 degrees. Those are hard hit line drives. Now down here at the bottom of the zone, and again, these are a lot of swings, but on these corners, you're getting ground balls, -5 degrees, -2.5 degrees. Say, you're able to get your son on one of these machines, maybe at the top of the zone, he hits a lot of balls in the air, but all down the bottom of the zone, he really hits a lot of balls in the ground. In the game, those are going to be outs, especially at the college level. Guys get really, really good defensively. At the pro level, they get even better. So being able to see something like this, I think, is so huge for a young hitter because they're able to understand what should I swing at and what should I take, right? Like I think a lot of times we get stuck on, all right, we're only going to swing at fastballs. But what if a fastball's down and in? Well, our guys, fastball down and in, and a lot of these are BB swings are still hitting balls on the ground, right? And these are still strikes. So, and these are professional hitters. So, maybe a ball down and in that's a fastball is something that I should take in a game, unless it's 2 strikes, right? So, finding and understanding like what I'm really good at is such an important and it's such a big advantage. Like that's a great answer to the question earlier. I wish I would have said it. Is find out what you're really, really good at. And then wait for that. If I'm really good at hitting fastballs in the top of the zone, wait for that. And when I get it, hammer it. If I'm really good at, hitting line drives in the bottom of the zone, then that's awesome. Like I should attack more balls in the bottom of the zone, So I think this is just a great example. Again, maybe you go and your exit velocities are really good on the inside part of the plate, but on the outside part of the plate, for some reason, you're not hitting the ball as hard. That's something to evaluate, right? Like that's something to work on and practice. Maybe you need to do something like from a movement perspective. Maybe you need to have a different approach. Maybe you're trying so hard to hit the ball the other way on an outside pitch that you're just kind of pushing it to the second baseman rather than driving that thing into right center field. Like those are really important things to know, to understand like what you're struggling at. And it's something that our guys, and I know college guys are using to make sure that they're practicing and training the right way. So that when they get into the games, 1, they're covering their weaknesses, but 2, they're also focused on getting the pitch that fits their strength, if that makes sense.
I love it, man. I love it. And this is, and I love what you're explaining, because I know to the normal naked eye, this is just colors and the box
For sure.
and what the hell, whatever. So, but this is good information. So this type of information it's being out there in the internet, but I don't know how many people is really understanding what they're reading. But
Absolutely.
for the parents and the people that are listening, this is what these college coaches, and pro coaches are using to evaluate your swing, to help you, and also pitching guys are using this to get your players out.
Absolutely.
So what's happening is, and this is why I'm glad my boy Blake came on here, is that, from a batting practice and even from a high school, I understand high schools may not have the Rapsodos or may not have all this technology, but you best believe if he gets the chance to play at the next level, or you go to these showcases, this is what's going to be, had. And this is not in game per se. This is practice settings where they're showing a whole group of players where they hot zones and their not so hot zones. So again, parents, I hope you're getting this information and understanding what Blake is saying to you, because this is what pros are using. This is what college coaches are using, for you and against you.
Absolutely. Again, we're all trying to win at every level. So, they're definitely using it for their guys, and they're definitely using it against the other team's guys. And the last thing I'll say, and again, this is another easy analytic thing that you don't even really need a Rapsodo for, is these hit classifications and outcomes are like huge, right? I think the hit outcomes a lot of parents probably keep. They probably keep, how many hits your son has, how many doubles, how many home runs. I think going a step further and thinking about it from a height perspective, how often does your son or daughter hit a dribbler, like a chopper, essentially a ball that goes straight to the ground? How often do they hit a ground ball, like just a solid ground ball, a ball that's hit on the ground, not that it's always a hit or it's always an out, but just a ground ball? How often do they hit a low line drive, a line drive that, would either one-hop an infielder or be, maybe like up to his chin, or a high line drive, something that goes over their head, something that like a line drive that, backspins all the way into a gap. Anything like that would be considered a high line drive. A fly ball, obviously fly balls are not always hits, but, a fly ball, like most of the home runs in the big leagues are calculated as fly balls, because a fly ball is considered 25 launch angle and higher. A lot of 25 angle launch angles and higher go over the fence, right? So a lot of your son's home run swings are calculated as a fly ball on this machine. We may think of them as high line drives, but technically they're fly balls. And then obviously pop-ups is the one we're really trying to stay away from. So just understanding like how often your son does those things, if you're able to sit through a practice and just keep a tally, ground ball, line drive, ground ball, fly ball, and then understand like, okay, my son, he's hitting way too many, pop-ups right now, or he's hitting way too many ground balls right now. And being able to work the opposite, to get it more towards a high line drive, or getting it more towards, a low line drive. If there are too many fly balls, you would work more towards a low line drive, trying to get them to, be on top. However you want to coach it is fine. And then the opposite, if they're hitting too many ground balls, and again, unless they're an excellent runner, maybe working them more towards that high line drive and rewarding them for that, trying to create a game where their success is a high line drive. And again, you don't need a Rapsodo to do that, right? Like, you can just show up and do it. It's awesome if you have one, but you could just keep a tally, watching games, watching practices in the cage, whatever it is. And again, you can work on that and track it over time. The first 2 weeks, this percentage. Then, then the next 2 weeks, I tried to change something and I got a little bit worse. So I went, I scratched that. I tried to do something different. I made it more of an approach thing instead of trying to change something mechanical. And all of a sudden I was hitting a lot more line drives than I was ground balls. Now you got something, right? And you can work on that. You can build on that and continue to try and find success in that. So again, easy analytics, trying to make it practical as possible. And, like I said, I want to give you guys an opportunity to see a lot of this stuff. So if you do get an opportunity to, use a Rapsodo or a HitTrax, because I feel like those are the most accessible out there right now, that you're able to have an idea of what to look for, and like I said, you probably know your son or daughter better than anybody else. So, being able to go straight to this and be like, okay, I know my son hits too many ground balls, so I want to go see how many he's hitting whenever I get to use this HitTrax or use this Rapsodo, so we could put a number on it and we could train at it. And then maybe in a month we'll come back and spend another hour on it, and we'll see if we got better through the training we were doing, the drills we were using. And, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You go back to the drawing board and come up with some new drills to get you where you need to be. That's the beautiful thing about this game, and even some of these technologies. It gives you a lot of this information, but it don't tell you how to fix it, right? You still got to, be a good coach. You have to be proactive and thinking through these things, being a good parent and being a good player. A lot of it comes on the kid. He's got to want to improve in these, in these certain, measurements, or improve in certain aspects of the game, ultimately to get better. Because, we can want it for our players, we can want it for our children, but if they don't want it for themselves, it's going to be hard to force them to do anything.
Man, great information. Listen, I hope you guys are getting this and understanding. I know it may be, a little, overwhelming with the numbers and but basically that last maybe 5 minutes what he talked about in the chart, you guys can do that. And you guys, Blake works for hitters and young hitters all the way up to the pros. You guys know that. For the most part, I give it to you parents. You guys understand, like, hey, my kid is hitting too many pop flies, or he's hitting the ball on the ground too much. I do give you guys credit for knowing that. You know what I'm saying? But now, it just like Blake said, it's how you correct it, how you go about that, all right? And you can't rely on a travel ball coach who's not necessarily a hitting guy or a high school guy, to correct those type of things. This is private instructors or, and all of that. This is great information that is being talked about over here, because with the angles and with everything is being, that we're talking launch angles and exit velos and all of that. Blake, I laugh because I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, I'm over here thinking, if we ask, I bet you any type of money right now, if we go and ask 10 random high school baseball players, we're talking about launch angles and all of this. But if you just ask basic questions of what's your batting average, how many doubles do you have, and all of that, they don't even know their damn, batting average and numbers. And we're asking them to do launch angles and all of this. And I just think sometimes, players and stuff, they get so enamored by, just playing and all that, and they think it's taboo to even know their numbers. So I'm saying that to say, when you were talking about, hey, you don't know your numbers as far as hits and doubles, and I'm like, no, they don't. There's so many players that I've worked with personally that don't be knowing their numbers. And this is just another way of avenue of knowing, it's not, you're going to sound like a nerd a little bit, but you're going to have to know these type of information, because this is what is going to be the norm. It's already going this route, and that's why I wanted to bring my boy and Blake on there to talk about it. but this is how you correct your swing, and this is how to get you out. So, Blake, do you know off the top of your hand? I read this from a pitching guy off a TrackMan, but do you know like basic high school exit velo numbers and what's a this is universal pros all the way down to high school. What's a quality consistent exit velo? I mean a launch angle that high school players still should know and what they should be shooting for exit.
Yeah, I would say at the high school level, and again, it really depends on the player. Like D Brown, you and I coming out as an 18-year-old looked very differently. I'm sure. I was 6'3", 170 pounds, as skinny as could be. And I know you had a little bit more muscle mass than I was, and we're probably hitting the ball a lot harder than I was. You probably had a much higher exit velocity than I did at 18.
I entered high school at 175. So, yeah.
Exactly. So, like understanding, again, like I could go on and on about just understanding who you are as a player. But, ultimately, for us, a max exit velocity with a wood bat at the pro level that's going to be really successful is like a max. If you're over 105, you're like elite, right? So, thinking about it from a high school perspective, obviously down the road we can all, dream for that. But I would have been silly to be shooting for 105 as an 18-year-old coming out of high school, right? So, again, if you're training with this information, find out what your baseline is to start and then try and just continue to build on it. I would throw out a 95, a 90 to 95 is a really solid thing to shoot for. That's not saying that you have to hit it 90.
Like anything above 90 high school wise is extremely good,
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And again, like it's all relative. And I'm not telling you can't play college baseball if your max exit velocity is 88 miles an hour, right? Like you could be an amazing college baseball player, but you're just going to be limited in what some of your things are. You're going to have to be, again, a really good defender, right? You're going to have to be really quick. You're going to have to, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be really good in other aspects of the game. You're going to have to be a great base runner. You're going to have to do all these other things really, really well. Whereas, if you're hitting the ball 100 miles an hour coming out of high school, you're probably going to get a couple extra opportunities, after you boot a couple balls, at first or third base, or you throw one into the stands or whatever, right? So, again, that's not new, right? Like we've always had guys that were more talented, had special tools that, had a little more leash than other guys, but I think that's a good number to shoot for.
So Blake, so everybody's not treated fair, even in the pros, and
even in the pros, from the bottom all the way up. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Oh, because I think certain people have this false reality that everything should be fair across the board and playing time, and everybody should be treated fair and acted the same and hit. I'm glad you said that. I'm just
we all want to win. I'll keep going back to that. Like I told you, like as a 3-year-old, like I was throwing game pieces when I lost, and that's still the same. I'm upset when we lose, and a lot of people don't look at the minor leagues like that. It's more development, but we want to win. We want to train to win. We want to develop to win, and high school coaches want to win. College coaches want to win. So that 90-95 number is a solid number to shoot for. If you can get beyond that, don't stop. Keep pushing. But and again, I'm not telling you to spend all your time with exit velocity. Like there's so many more parts of the swing. From a mechanical perspective, timing. If you not have timing, it doesn't matter how hard you hit the ball, right? If you, don't have adjustability, if you can't hit a curveball, then it doesn't matter how hard you hit a fastball, because once you get to college, you're going to be able to throw the curveball for a strike, So there's so many holes in what I'm saying right now. And I can understand, like, if you were a parent, why you would think these things. But again, it's just part of the game. Like, you want to train, throw them mixed BP, throw them pitches high, pitches low. Again, understanding what your zone is important, but ultimately, like, hitting the ball hard is never going to be a bad thing. So continue to do that. And from a launch angle perspective, like, I would think of it from like a 10 to 20 range is like what you shoot from. If you go 5 over that and you're at 25, great. If you go 5 lower than that, you're at 5, great. That's a one hop through the infield. Hopefully, if a guy catches it, he catches it, right? But that's kind of like where I like to think about being. Again, like a 5 to 15 is a low line drive, 15 to 25 is a high line drive, and anything over 25 is a fly ball. And again, like if you're a 27 but you hit the ball 100, it's probably going to go over the fence, And so, again, that's where that exit velocity comes into play where, again, when I was young, if I hit it, 90 miles an hour, 27 launch angle or whatever, it's probably going to get caught, deep, but it's going to get caught. Whereas if D Brown hits it 105 at 27, it's going to land on the soccer field and,
Facts.
you're not going to see it again. So those are kind of the things I would shoot for as a high school player. You can hit it over 90 and hit it between 10 and 20 degrees a lot. You're gonna be doing some good.
Listen, man. We're gonna get into this. I think we're gonna stay right here at the Rapsodo. I know we always want to mention a little bit about the K-Best, but I think this is such valuable information. We also talk about TrackMan and some of the other hit tracks. And this is where where baseball is going. And I harp on this, parents. This is for parents and your kids to have somewhat of a base of understanding this, of these, at least the blast motions, the numbers, because this is where this is going. I know many of you may have used this already, but many of you may have, don't know and don't feel like you need to know. I'm here to educate, and when the pros are using this any and every angle, this is their advantage. The college coaches are using this is their advantage. And even now many high schools are purchasing Rapsodos and stuff because I know for a fact up in the Tennessee area, some of the private schools, I have parents and friends of mine buy it for their schools. That's how important this type of information is. So I take it upon you parents to have your son or daughter watch this information. Parents, I ask that you go back and listen to it. It may be, it may not it's not exciting. It's not college coaches and talk of recruiting, but this is a pro coach right now who played in college, played pro ball, and literally just got off the field. 2 years ago was at a D1 school as a college coach. So he's telling you everything, saying from a playing wise to a coaching side of things where, this is where this is going. So I hope you, listen to my boy Blake and have a good understanding. And this is one of them that should be replayed a lot because this is where the game is going. I had to learn, and I still got a long way to go with this K-Best, man.
Hey, me too, man. Me too. And like, be skeptical. Like, it's so good to be skeptical. Like, when you're learning these things, like, there's nothing wrong with being skeptical, but don't be defiant. Don't be, I won't use it, right? Because, you may get to a college and then the second year you're there, a guy takes another job and the new guy comes in and this is what he wants to use. And now, this is what you're with. So, be skeptical. Go in, ask really good questions. And, I'd be happy to leave my email with you, D, where if parents have more questions that they think of, feel free to reach out to me, ask me questions. I'm happy to answer them. But, be skeptical, ask questions, ask really good questions. I think you would be shocked at how much college coaches love good questions and love being challenged. I mean, it's not, like you said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And, these aren't perfect devices. There's limitations to all of them, right? Like, Rapsodo is great because it's the ball, but it doesn't show you anything about mechanics, right? So that's a whole another discussion. And where the K-Vest is kind of the opposite. It tells you about everything that the body's doing, but it doesn't tell you what the ball is doing. So there's all these things we can use, but there's limitations, ultimately to all of them. And so, it's really important to ask good questions and to be skeptical. Like, not all the measurements, like, I don't want to bash on any of these things, but not all the measurements are important, there are some of these, specific technologies where it'll tell you good job. Like, you're doing what we want you to do, but it's not like that you'll take a team of players using that same thing and the best hitter will have some of the worst numbers, right? According to that thing. Now, you can still learn something about his swing and continue to help him improve, but just don't take it for a grain of salt. Do your own research. Google. Email college coaches with questions. And again, like, I'm sure they'd be excited to answer these questions. And, as a college coach, you get a lot of emails of highlights and stuff, but when guys ask good questions like, hey, I've been training with this technology, or I was at this tournament and, this was what my scores were. And, I just was out of curiosity. What is your players? What are some of your players? What's kind of the average of what your guys are doing, at your school? And, whereas instead of a coach just looking at it like, okay, highlight video next, like, oh, this guy wants to know what he needs to work towards to be a college player. Like, I think that's an awesome email. Like, if I'm a college coach, I'm answering that email like, hey, man, keep working hard. Most of our guys are hitting about like 94 miles an hour, unless you're playing center or short. What's your 60? That kind of matters, blah, blah, blah. And there's numbers maybe different. I just kind of spit something off right there. But that's just a great way to start a conversation. And if you do go on visits, ask them what they're using. Ask them what matters to them so you can get a head start. You commit to that school as a junior. You got 2 years to improve even more before you get there if you want to play. So figure out what matters to them. Hey, what technologies are you using? Where should I be on that? What should I be working on? Ultimately, like, if you want to be successful, you're going to find a way, and you're going to, ask those questions. So,
Blake, I got one question, and then we're going to finish up here. And I want you to take us out with a message after this question. You answer this. Jay Meyer, what up, Jay Meyer, Wisconsin? What are some good drills to work on as a youngster, so when they get to high school, they're where they need to be with these analytics?
Yeah. So, man, the youngster thing's so hard to me. I haven't really, to be honest, like, nailed down like what's too young. I really think it just depends on the kid. I want baseball to be a great experience and fun for every kid in America, because it was such a great game to me, and I love the game so dearly. If a kid is more apt to and interested in technology, let him be interested. Go down the path with him. But it's not everything. Like, I think that as a youngster, like a true youngster, and again, this comes from a semi-tech guy, as a youngster, like, I think it's much more valuable if you want your kid to play in high school to, like, understand how to play the game. I would do drills like, game situations. Like, if you have a kid walking into high school and he knows that with a runner on third and less than 2 outs, he needs to hit a sac fly, or he needs to hit a ground ball to the middle of the field if the infield's back, like, that's all. Like, those are things that are going to get him on a high school team, right? That's just kind of my opinion on it. Now, I know it's really competitive. I know these travel teams are really competitive to get on. I know the rat race that brings, and we could sit here and talk about whether that's good or bad for the game, and for hours probably. But as far as like just trying to get on your high school team, you just need to love the game, because high school baseball is an awesome experience, but it's hard. Like, it's more workload probably than you ever have. You're practicing every day probably, for one of the first times in your life, and you're facing guys that are 6 inches taller than you at times if you're playing as a young freshman or sophomore. So just learn the game, dive into the game, understand the game. If a specific kid is really interested in this stuff, let him be interested. Like, let the game and what interests him guide him. But personally, for me, I'm not going to chase, exit velocities. I'm not going to chase launch angles. I would still be talking about the game from a line drive, hit the ball hard, understand when you need to go to the opposite field, when you need to hit a sac fly, understanding like positioning, how to play defense. Like, these are all like just base level things that we all love and what got us into the game and the memories we have. Like, those are the things you should be doing with youngsters.
I love it, Blake, and I love it. Tylon, thank you for this message, man. D, I have so much love for you and your program. My son Jaden was at your ATL showcase, and to see how you maneuver with the players, it's a beautiful thing. Thanks for the info. You're a blessing, Tylon. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for the great advice. JD, J Meyer, they have said great info to you, Blake, and what you're giving. Blake, I want you to take us on out with a message, man. But in the meantime, parents, this is just like my boy Tyler talked about the Atlanta showcase. I am running a showcase in Little Rock, Arkansas on the 24th of this month. So here is the link to it. We are lining up the college coaches. We will be doing a live stream and trying to get the Rapsodo there and get it to work like we had in LA. We had an issue with the one in California with the Rapsodo, but we're getting this, technology stuff done. We're a work in progress, but this is the This is the link to the Little Rock, Arkansas showcase, April 24th. I will post it all on social media. I put it up yesterday. So I'd love to see you guys there in Arkansas, especially those surrounding states. So listen, Blake, if you could, man, I always have my guests take us on out with a strong message, man. You've been giving us great info, but and this last thing you just said was pretty good too, man. So just take us out. It could be short, small, long, whatever, man. Take us on out with a great message.
I guess it is opening day today, so please enjoy a baseball game. I know it's been an unbelievably crazy year, a sad year in many ways, but it's really cool to get on and still have quality conversation with you, D. You know how much love I have for you, and enjoy a baseball game today. And you know what? If you watch that baseball game, you're probably going to see a home run, and it's going to pop up and tell you an exit velocity and a launch angle, and you could write that down and put it on your son's wall and give him something to chase after if you want to. But I know Brian Hayes hit one in Chicago this morning for the Bucks, and I think it was 105 to dead center, went through the wind, got out. So you want to be a big leaguer, that's what it takes. But no, in all seriousness, man, this was awesome. Enjoy some baseball games. It's a beautiful sport. It's really cool that we're able to get on and have conversations about it. And I, for one, am really excited that the game is back and they're playing 162 this year, and that we're going to have a minor league season, that college baseball is in full swing, and we're getting a heavy dose. I hope that the summer circuit's back, to full swing, and all those college coaches are out on the road, and that every single person watching this gets an opportunity to play college baseball, because I promise you, it's the best experience ever.
I ain't got nothing else to say. I got my boy. Blake, man, great message, man. Gave me goosebumps, man, with the whole opening day, and then I love how you tied it in with the technology. Exit the velo, man. Dude, you're a great interviewee, man. You know what I'm saying? God.
Make it easy.
Tomorrow we'll be joined by Paul Phillips. We're gonna talk the S2 cognition, and we're gonna do some more testing. We're gonna talk the brain side, and we're gonna some of the listeners, when Paul came on a few months ago, took me on that offer, and they're in the Nashville area and took the test of the S2 cognition. Blake knows what I'm talking about, because Paul spoke to the Pirates coaches last year, and so we're going to have Paul come and go over the readings of the S2 cognition. One of my former players, a pitcher that pitched with my travel ball team a couple years back. So man, this is my boy Blake just kind of kicked knowledge to you guys, man. So great stuff, Blake. Love the baseball is able to continue, no doubt, Stacy. So I'm happy that you guys are on here, man. Join me tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, as Paul Phillips joins us. Blake, man, I love you, my brother. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll be in contact, man. Please have your kids and parents, if you haven't been able to listen to the whole message, share this right now, man. This is where the baseball is going. This is great information that my boy Blake just gave you, all right? So please tag somebody, share this across your Facebook pages, man. This is great information that he just shared, and how college and pro coaches are looking and evaluating these type of readings and with the technology. Blake, I love you, my brother. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Much love, man.
All right, please. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, parents. Love you guys.